Hey there, Toto. You know what? I heard from Linda, the good witch of the South, that all I had to do to get back home is to click my heels together with my ruby slippers and just say there's no place like home. You want to try it? There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Oh, look, Toto! I don't think we're in Indiana, or Detroit, or Canada, or even Maine anymore. Look, we're home in Leesburg, Florida. Isn't that amazing, Toto? Oh, I'm so glad to be home. Wow. You know, it's absolutely right. There is no place like home. There is no place like home. I wonder where Mommy is. Here, would you like to take a little trip? I think that Toto's looking for the curtain, the pull the curtain. I say I had a fabulous time on my trip. However, my trip in many ways reminded me of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz when she went to the land of Oz. You've all heard of Dorothy, haven't you, in the land of Oz? Is there anybody here that doesn't know what I'm talking about? Anyone? Okay. Well, you know, it probably is the best known and the most loved fairy tale in America. And it was written a long time ago. It was written in the 1900s by L. Frank Baum. And I have to say, for Kat's sake, he was part of the Theosophical, say it for me, Theosophical Society. So there's things out there with saying, oh yeah, we can interpret this in many ways. But if he was part of that society, I think there's deeper meaning to it. And you know, it didn't really gain its popularity and notoriety, I guess, until 1939 when it was made into a movie starring Judy Garland. And The Wizard of Oz is an atypical movie. And I love atypical and archetypal movies because Dorothy is the archetype that goes on the hero's journey. And it's popular now not only in America but all around the world. But the greatest thing about The Wizard of Oz is it's one of the greatest metaphysical movies ever made, especially for that time frame if you think about it. Now I realize that there's been other metaphysical movies made that we can interpret, like Star Wars and The Matrix and Avatar, you know, they kind of go on and on. But for that time period, that was really wonderful. And the reason that we love this movie so much and resonate with it is because it's our story. You know what? I think I've said that before about the Bible, haven't I? I've said it's our story and that we're every character in the Bible. Now that's pretty deep though, you know. But in Unity, you know, we're always metaphysically interpreting things, aren't we? And when we had the class on the 5 basic principles, a lot of people said, oh, I'm so sorry that it's over. I just want another class right away. And some people said, I want metaphysical Bible interpretation. And I thought, wow, that's pretty deep. Wow, okay, well, let's have it. You know, why not? But I thought, how about let's begin with something that we all know and something that's easy to metaphysically interpret, and let's do it with The Wizard of Oz. So are you game to do that?
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, whether you are aware of it or whether anybody out there is aware of it, each of us is traveling on the yellow brick road. And the yellow brick road is a spiritual path that leads us to our own enlightenment. And Dorothy represents each one of us on our spiritual journey, whatever that spiritual journey takes us. In fact, the name Dorothy is short for Dorothea in Greek. And in Greek, Dorothea means divine gift. You see, we're all, each and every one of us, God's divine gift upon earth. Now, we might look out there and we surely don't see any yellow brick road, do we? We have to look deeper, I think, to see that. And it happens when we begin to have something in unity we call divine discontent. We look around at our life that is ordinarily, and it's in black and white. And we might be on a farm in Kansas. We might be in the suburbs, even in Florida. Or we might be in a high-rise in New York City. It really doesn't matter where we're located. But we begin to have this divine discontent, and we say to ourselves, and probably to God, is this all there is? Yeah, any of you ever say that? I know I have a few times. Is this all there is, God? Is this it? And that's what happened to Dorothy. She was on the farm. Life was rough. And you know, she thought, little bluebirds can fly over the rainbow. Well, why can't I? And you know, what's over that rainbow? What kind of life is over that rainbow? There's got to be something different. And that was her call to action, that divine discontent. And it took the form of a tornado. Now, figuratively speaking, tornadoes really represent any of those uncomfortable, unpleasant events that eventually propel us upward higher in consciousness. You see, the old has to be torn down and wiped away before we can begin to place the new on a firm foundation. And tornadoes really help us to do that. The tornadoes will come if we don't take action first. You know, we can begin to maybe not have so many tornadoes in our life, though, if we just listen and sense the winds of change that might be drifting through our lives. And know that, hey, we can harness some of this energy and transmute it and pray about it and think about how our life can change so that it's not a full-blown tornado that will eventually land on the wicked witch of the West, you know. I think that in unity we call that, don't get hit up the side of the head with a cosmic 2x4. So we try. But sometimes those tornadoes come. They just come. And therefore we can say tornadoes is a great means for our spiritual growth. Now Toto, that was Dorothy's dearest companion on this journey. So when Miss Gulch threatened to take Toto away, Dorothy experienced a crisis in her life. And that set her off on this wonderful journey to the land of Oz. And she got caught up in that tornado that took her from her outer world, which was represented by Kansas, and placed her in her inner world, which is represented by the land of Oz. In the land of Oz, though, the strange thing happened. There were many characters there that were very much like the characters that she knew back in Kansas. And what happened when that tornado finally came to an end? It killed the wicked witch. And that symbolized the end of Dorothy's dependence upon others. She was totally away from what she knew, from home life, from Auntie Em, from Uncle Henry. And also it represents her decision to go off on her own spiritually, to go on this deep inner journey. However, once she had a peek at the land of Oz and she saw the colors and it was so wonderful. She saw the little munchkins. She saw the horse of different colors. She saw all these amazing things. And what did she want to do immediately almost? She wanted to go back home. Oh, that reminds me pretty much of myself. Have you ever gone to Unity when you finally saw into that inner land, that beautiful colors, the possibilities that might come about? And you go back home. Can you imagine if she went back home and said, hey, I saw some munchkins, and I saw the horse of different colors, and I saw this bubble come, with the good witch of the South. People would say, you're a little crazy. Huh?
There's a man in white coat?
Yeah, exactly. So, you go home after you've been in Unity and you're just really excited about it, and you go, guess what, family? You know what? Our thoughts create our reality. And we can be prosperous if we want to, and we can heal ourselves too, and we cause a lot of our dis-ease, and they're going to look at you and go, where are you going now? Where are you going now? You have been to the land of Oz, and you're right, they might come with the little white coats, or they just leave you and go, she's just gone kooky, off of her rocker. Well, Linda advises Dorothy then, hey, just follow the yellow brick road, and that will get you back home. If you go to the Emerald City, and talk to the wizard, I'm sure that you'll get back home, but follow the yellow brick road. And that became her mantra. I'm going to follow the yellow brick road. And the yellow brick road, it spirals outward. It starts in a spiral, and it goes outward. Now I know that this wasn't written at the time, but when I think about that spiral, I think about spiral dynamics. Spiral dynamics was brought about by an author, Don Beck, and E.J. Niles, and others. But it says that we are ever spiritual, evolving consciousness moving upward. And as we move upward, we take with us everything that's sacred down here at this level, in this year, and move it upward and upward and upward. And finally, folks, we're at a point right now, many of these people that believe in this theory, that we are going to jump in evolutionary consciousness. And you know what? That's what 2012 is all about. We're going to jump to that next level. And I think that's why we're here, too. That's why we're here, to learn about that. But you know what? That's a whole different talk, and I'll do that another day on spiral dynamics. And we'll get back to the land of Oz. Just had to go off on that little tangent. Because you see, we all have that capacity to spiral up in our consciousness. You know why? Because we have the ruby slippers. We all have the ruby slippers, whether you see them or not. And those ruby slippers can take us to our Eden. It can return us to Eden again. It can take us to that peace. It can take us to that quiet. It can take us to that oneness that we had with God in the Eden. And it can give us our heart's desires. The ruby slippers represent that divine, that wonderful burning spark that is within us, that God that is within us. And that's our second unity principle, that there is this divine spark within us. And Glenda reminds Dorothy, those ruby slippers will stay on your feet, and so don't take them off. In essence, she's saying, always, always remember your divine spark, and you're going to be all right. Well, so she starts out on her path down the yellow brick road. And we all start on our path down that lovely yellow brick road, and we're just so happy when we're first in unity. And then what happens? Bam. We meet the scarecrow. We meet the Tin Man. We meet the cowardly lion along the way. You know, have you ever met the scarecrow as you travel this path? And you say, gosh, gosh, I wish I could get this metaphysical Bible interpretation. I wish I could get the 5 basic principles down. I wish I could understand Course in Miracles. If I only had a brain, I could do that. Oh, goodness. Well, I could get that job if I only had a brain. That's the education, right? Oh, my. So we trip on down the road a little bit, and we meet the Tin Man, who doesn't have a heart. Oh, if I just had a heart, you know, I could draw to me and attract to me the right and the perfect love of my life. If I only had a heart, I would feel good about myself and feel worthwhile and worthy. But you know what? I've just been looking for love in all the wrong places and haven't found it. I just wish I had a heart. And then we trip onward to the Cowardly Lion. Oh gosh, I'm so afraid to tell my folks or to tell my friends about what I really believe, because they're going to think I'm really crazy. You know, I wish I had the courage just to speak up. Well, you know, Dorothy had to draw up on all of these things. She had to draw up on her intellect. She had to draw up on love. She had to be of courage. And so do we. We have to draw up on our 12 powers, because if we think about it, those powers are within us. We've got love right here in our heart. We've got faith here in our brain and faith here in our divine order, our body brain. And we've got strength in our back to move us forward. And we've got power here in our voice to speak up. You see how it's all kind of coming together now? Well, so she trips on down the yellow brick road. And at one point, you know, she's almost to the Emerald City. And what happens? She gets tired in a field of poppies and she falls asleep. Do you ever just want to give up and fall back to sleep? Yeah. And sometimes we do, don't we? Oh. And then it takes like the snow, the cold, to get us back on track again. You know? Oh, and as we trip down that road, we've got all the wicked witches, you know, and we've got the flying monkeys all around us. You know, those flying monkeys that come, that negativity that just flies into our mind, whether we want it to or not. So that's why we have to call upon all of our 12 powers to lead us onward, to keep us from going to sleep. Well, she finally arrives in the Emerald City. And Toto, who can represent her intuition, who knows, draws aside the curtain. And we see that the wizard is a sham. It's just smoke and mirrors. And that's to show us that our old way of thinking is just a sham. It's not going to lead us anywhere. So she wonders, wow, how will I get home? But you see, the yellow brick road is one to find your own spiritual path, your own spiritual path. And the Good Witch of the North always gave Dorothy guidance, you know, just follow the yellow brick road. And to make her own discoveries along the way. She let her make her own discoveries along the way. And that brings to mind the will of God. You know, the will of God is always good. But God isn't going to just hand you spirituality there on the plate. You've got to go on the journey and you've got to discover it yourself. You've got to find out these things for yourself. One of the best books, The Zen of Oz by Joey Green, suggests that the Wizard of Oz illustrates the Buddhist search for enlightenment. And Glinda is the Zen master who sends Dorothy on her journey down the yellow brick road toward enlightenment. And Dorothy searches, and her self-discovery inspires others along the way. And Dorothy eventually achieves Satori, or enlightenment. and finds her oneness with the universe. In essence, she finds her way home. So the journey down the yellow brick road doesn't mean that truth will just be given to us, like here it is. Rather, truth is realized. And we must always look within for that truth. You know, we don't have to go off in search of some great mystic, some guru, not even a minister. We have to look within. We don't have to go to a variety of exotic places. Oh, that is nice, though. I like going to exotic places. And I had fun. We don't have to go to a different location because truth can be found in our own backyard. And you see, reality is really very simple. Truth is very simple. We create our reality, our third principle, by the thoughts that we hold in our mind. And we tend to make it be more complicated than it really is or really needs to be. The simple truth is, and I wish Bertram was here because he always says this at meditation, it's a universal fact that if we believe it, it will be so. It will show up, and then we'll see it, and it will be real. He says it a little differently, but in essence, that's it. When we believe it, we'll see it. When we see it in our mind, it will come forth. So the kingdom of heaven isn't a place, but it's a state of mind. And when we can enter into that heavenly state of mind, then we really truly know that there is no place like home. So God bless each and every one of you as you journey down your own